Hi, I'd like to introduce you to the new product that will certainly make your life easier. So let's begin.
Applying GI to real-life diets is complex. Weigh all information before relying on glycemic index. Glycemic? If you check different sources on the GI of foods, the numbers don't always match. The glycemic index takes into account only the type of carbohydrates, not the amount of carbohydrates in a usual serving. Some foods are more concentrated sources of carbohydrates than others. For example, chocolate cake has 52 grams of carbohydrates in a usual serving, while carrots deliver only 6 grams of carbohydrates in a serving. So even though the glycemic index of carrots is higher, 47 PS, 38 for cake, chocolate cake is going to have a much greater total effect on blood sugar because it takes 81 servings of carrots to equal the carbohydrates in a serving of cake. The GI in a given food can vary depending on where it is grown and how it's processed and cooked. Australian potatoes have a higher GI than American potatoes. In general, the more processed the food, the higher the GI. Even cooking pasta for a longer time can raise the GI. Generally, whole grains have a lower GI than refined grains. But glycemic index rankings are often confusing. Bran flake and Cheerios have a GI of 74, shredded wheat is 75, and Fruit Loops 69, long grain white rice averaged 56 in 10 studies. It ranged between 41 and 64, while brown rice averaged 55, 50 to 66. The average GI of white bread is in 6 studies was 70, and of whole grain bread was 71. And ironically, sugar have a lower GI than starches because starches are made up totally of glucose molecules and sugars are not. So Coca-Cola has a lower GI than grape nut flakes. Studies that establish the GI of foods measure the response to the food consumed all by itself. But most of us don't eat like that. What's important is predicting the effect of the food as part of a meal. Experts disagree on the value of the glycemic index. The American Diabetes Association say that the relationship between glycemic index and glycemic load and the development of type 2 diabetes remain unclear at this time. The Canadian and Australian Diabetics Association have endorsed GI as a food for improving blood glucose control. Some dietitians who work with people with diabetes recommend that their clients address other diet issues first, such as total carbohydrate and meal spacing, then try the GI concept to see if that improves blood sugars further. There's no doubt that different foods produce different glucose responses, but the total carbohydrates has much more of an effect than the GI. If you have a hard time using GI diets, a better approach is to eat close to the farm. avoid highly refined foods and focus on lean meats, beans and legumes, never heard of that, whole grain and fresh fruit and vegetables. I'd like to say thank you for listening to this video. There are many more videos in my site on diet and weight loss and many other things, smoking, etc. Please use the links that are below them, as you will find out quite a bit to help you out. Hope to hear from you again soon. Thank you very much for me.
Thanks for watching. Click the link below for more info.